Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Licensing Subcommittee D meeting. My name is Gareth Sykes. I'm a Governance Services Officer, and I'm going to briefly start the meeting with reading out the protocol for remote meetings. And then once I've read that out, we will then go to the formal agenda, which has been published on the Hackney Council website and is available for viewing and also has been seen by the officers, the premises user, applicant, and etc. Okay, the protocol is as follows for remote meetings. Only speak when invited to by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Will everyone please ensure that their mics are muted when they are not speaking, apart from the chair, who does not need to mute their mic at any stage. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allotted time frames highlighted at the start of the hearing and contained within the agenda pack. If you are referring to a specific page or picture in the report, refer to that specific page or page number or picture. If you're having any technical difficulties, please use the chat function in Google Meet to raise those technical difficulties. Mario from IT is on this call and hopefully be able to resolve those IT issues should they arise. Please don't use the chat function to put any formal questions to the subcommittee. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from this meeting. This next item applies to any, if there's more than one application, but we've only got one TENS for this meeting, so this next point doesn't apply, so I'll skip that. Applicants and all other parties will be asked to leave the proceedings once the meeting is concluded. Once all the applications, or in this case TENS, have been considered, any remaining parties will be asked to log out of the hearing. Please do so promptly, and the council will have the opportunity to deliberate and make a decision on each application, and each party will be notified of the decision within 5 working days. That concludes the remote meeting protocol, so we will now go to the formal agenda, beginning with the election of a chair for this meeting.
Can I nominate Councillor Pluvier, please?
Thank you. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to make sure we've got everybody here. I think introduce ourselves. I'm Councillor Pluvier from London Fields Ward. My colleague is
Councillor Smith from Stoke Newington Ward.
And we also have Amanda.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Solicitor from Legal Services, assisting members this afternoon. Thank you.
And David Jewett.
Hi, I'm David Jewett. I'm the Licensing Officer presenting the report today.
Gareth, who's spoken, who's our Governance Officer.
And also be taking minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, Gareth. Gertch Patty.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gertch. I'm from the Environmental Protection Team.
Lovely, thank you. Luke Elford.
Good afternoon, councillors. Luke Elford on behalf of the applicant, Yaroslav Krampol.
Thank you. And Yarda Krampol we have as well, yes?
Councillor, I think Yarda is having some problems with logging into this meeting. I'm going to just send him a quick text and suggest that he phones in rather than tries the video call, because he seems to be appearing on the screen and disappearing again.
Okay.
So let's get him logged on that way. If you'll bear with me for just 2 seconds, I'll do that whilst you carry on with...
While we carry on with the proceedings. Okay, yes. Lovely. Mario's here to help in terms of the IT. Okay, so we've introduced ourselves. I'll just, the agenda item number 2 is apologies for absence. We have no apologies. Number 3 is declarations of interest. I have none. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, none, Chair. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay. Do we now have the not the applicant, the premises in attendance?
We do, councillors. Yes.
That's lovely. So that is Mr. Yaroslav Krampol. That's fine. Just indicate with a thumbs up. Will do fine. Lovely. Thanks very much. Okay. I'm just going to go through the hearing procedure so that everyone attending is properly aware. It's in the agenda. So we've done the appointment of chair and introductions. Next, the licensing officer will outline the report. Then we'll hear from the in this case, the Environmental Health Responsible Authority, as their reasons for objecting to the temporary event notice application. Then we'll hear from the premises user, put their case. Then we can have a discussion. Questions, please people raise their hands when they want to speak unless the chair asks you, and please speak through the chair. And then we'll have closing remarks, opportunity for final clarification, and then everyone will withdraw and we'll make our decision. So relatively straightforward procedure. Given that, unless there are any questions, I will ask the licensing officer please to outline the case, the report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. Members are asked to consider a temporary event notice which has been given in respect of a proposed event on the 6th and 7th of August at the Courtyard, which is at St Michael's Church on Leonard Street, for activities from 12 midday till 2200 hours each day. The licensing service received an objection notice from Environment Protection, which was on the grounds of the prevention of public nuisance. The 10 you'll find in today's report. The actual temporary event notice itself you'll find in today's report at Appendix A, and the Appendix B is where the objection notice is from Environment Protection. Both the premises user and Environment Protection have submitted some supplementary information. These documents have both been circulated but are also available should members wish to see them. I have nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any points for clarification, Councillor Smith? Okay.
No, thanks.
Lovely. Okay, then moving forward, perhaps we could hear from the Environmental Health Officer, Gert Patty, the reasons for the objection.
Thank you, Chair. So the Environmental Protection team has concerns that noise emanating from this event could amount to a statutory noise nuisance, hence undermining the licensing objective public nuisance. The Environmental Protection Service is in receipt of numerous complaints from nearby residents in relation to the cumulative impact of granting this temporary event notice. Residents believe they already endure noise disturbances and antisocial behaviour issues within the local area due to other licensed premises. So allowing this pop-up restaurant with the addition of alcohol is likely to disturb residents further and not allow residents to enjoy the peace and comfort of their homes. Environmental Protection would like the panel to kindly refer to the supplementary information provided, which highlights the residents' concerns, and pictures which show the close proximity of the event space to residents, practically next door. 150 people within this space for 10 hours with the addition of alcohol at this event is likely to cause residents a significant disturbance, hence why Environmental Protection believe a counter notice should be served. Thank you, panel.
Thank you. Any clarifications needed?
No, Chair, thank you very much.
Just you say, just from me, can we just be clear about where there are residences? We've got the photos, so presumably one residence is the place that is taking the photo.
Yes, so we've got residents literally right opposite to the side where the pictures have been taken, and again immediately next door are residents. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Moving on then to the premises users case.
Councillors, good afternoon to you. Luke Elford from Woodswere, and I have with me Yarda Krampol and Paul Mackerstocker, who are the notice giver and the manager for the event, if you're kind enough to allow it to go ahead. I'm conscious that I've got a little time to address you, and I'd also like you to hear from Yarda and Paul with any observations they have. So I'm going to split this presentation into three parts, effectively. First, what the event is and how the event feeds into other activations within this space that are planned throughout the week. Second, who Yarda and Paul and their project Cultural Guardians are, and three, the positive steps that the notice giver has taken in respect of the licensing objectives and how they address the concerns raised in the objection. Cultural Guardians have taken this site, which is the old Westland Architectural Salvage Yard on Leonard Street, on a short-term lease of 3 months. Their aim is to bring the space back into use through a series of public activations during the day, ranging from art exhibitions, a food retail market, and offering the use of the space to local workers as a place where they can have lunch in the sunshine, and so on. To support that, on a Friday and Saturday during the life of the lease, they are submitting a series of temporary event notices to facilitate a pop-up restaurant. There's a somewhat crude plan of the layout of that restaurant within your plans, which I hope you've able to have had within your papers, which I hope you've been able to have a look at. The pop-up restaurant is important because it supports the viability of the other non-licensable endeavours that are taking place. In terms of the pop-up restaurant itself, the proposal is pretty simple. The operation, we hope, will run from midday until 10 p.m. On a Friday and Saturday only. There's no intention for it to run on a Sunday to Thursday. The site is going to be laid out to tables and chairs and staffed by waiters and waitresses. There's a capacity given of 150 people, but councillors, you'll be aware that in respect of temporary event notices, first of all, you're required to supply a capacity which you're not on a premises licence unless it's over 5,000 people. And secondly, that on a temporary event notice, that capacity includes all of the staff and anyone that may be working at the premises in addition to the customers. So we think actually that once the premises is laid out to tables and chairs, you're probably looking at a maximum of 100 customers in a socially distanced way. Customers are going to order food and drinks via a QR code on the tables or direct from the waiters or waitresses who will be able to take orders and payment. Food and drink is going to be delivered to the tables and consumed at those tables. The pop-up restaurant is going to be bookings led, and what that means, councillors, is that the majority of customers are going to book with us to come and visit the restaurant, but that there will be some availability, as there normally is in any restaurant, for walk-ins. Sensibly, bookings will be staggered, again, like at any other restaurant, so that there isn't a mass influx of customers to the premises at any one time, or by the same token, a departure of customers at the same time. I mentioned Cultural Guardians. There are projects set up by Mr. Crampol, Mr. Macastocker, and Ernesto Leal. If those names are familiar to you, that's because they are experienced operators who have operated in Shoreditch and in Hackney for a very long time. They are extremely experienced. Cultural Guardians' mission statement, if you will, is to take disused and unloved sites in East London and to show what can be done with them for the community by a small but dedicated team. They're also mindful that while we come out of the pandemic, outdoor seating and dining is very much encouraged, and they're hoping to be a part of your Hello Again Hackney programme. The site is about more than just the pop-up restaurant, and Cultural Guardians want to create something for the local community to enjoy throughout the week. A lot of thought went into this temporary event notice before it was submitted to you, and consideration of the locality as per Licensing Policy 1 has been demonstrated by the hours that have been applied for. We haven't applied for excessive hours late into the night, and the end time complies with your Licensing Policy LP6 in terms of outdoor areas. You may be interested to know, councillors, that we, as I said, we're submitting a series of these TENs. The first temporary event notice we submitted didn't receive any objections and is going ahead this weekend. So we're in a rather odd situation whereby there's an event this weekend, our subsequent event has been objected to, and then presumably, you know, there may be objections to further events or not, as the case may be. We've submitted a number of supporting documents and risk assessments and management plans. To be honest, frankly, far more than I have ever seen for small events of this type. But I think that goes to show the quality of the operators, which is one of the factors that you consider when taking into account temporary event notices and whether to issue a counter notice. We're a bit disappointed with the objection. We've tried to engage to see if there was any way of mediating the objection, to meet with the officer, but we've had no response to that whatsoever. The objection talks about a statutory nuisance, and statutory nuisances are dealt with actually under the Environmental Protection Act 1990. If a statutory nuisance exists, an abatement notice can be served. We don't think it's right to be using the Licensing Act 2003 to abate or to preempt a statutory nuisance. We're a bit concerned about the references to cumulative impact and how that plays out in the context of temporary event notices. This is not a premises license application, and also it would be for any objector to prove that there is cumulative impact, not for us to rebut that presumption, because we're not in a cumulative impact area. The complaint and the observations about this premises can't be a complaint about it being operational, because it hasn't been operational yet. We are more than happy to liaise with local residents and to be contactable, not just during the licensable activities on a Friday and Saturday, but throughout the week in respect of any of the activations. And also, councillors, this jumped out to me when I was reading the complaint from the residents, that if those problems in this street are as described, surely a visible presence on this site between midday and 10 p.m. is useful in being a deterrent to those kinds of behaviours as they're described. Very briefly, in summary, policy LP8 sets out your approach to TENS, and it gives 4 criteria for your decision making. Existing conditions, unfortunately, aren't relevant in this case because there is no premises licence from which you can transpose conditions. There is no complaint history here as a result of licensable activity. The track record of the notice giver and the premises user is, I would suggest to you, as strong as you're going to see, and the control measures proposed in terms of the policies and procedures, as well as being food-led, laid out to tables and chairs, bookings-driven, dispersal policy, noise management policy, what have you, is all lends itself to very much to promoting the licensing objectives. We would ask you to resist the urge to issue a counter notice to this temporary event, and obviously, in line with the event taking place this weekend, allow this event to happen also. And of course, we don't think they will, but if any problems were to occur during either an event this weekend or next weekend, then we simply wouldn't have any leg to stand on in respect of any further temporary event notices. That's me. I don't know if Yada or Paul has anything they wish to add.
Do they?
I'm going to take that as a no.
No, okay. Okay, thank you. That's very full and clear. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, Councillor Smith?
Yes, Chair, please. Just would like to understand a little bit more about how your booking system works. The smoking provision on that document you provide, the noise management strategy, it says non-applicable. I'm just wondering what the smoking kind of arrangements are for the site. And
it's outside.
Sorry?
I think
it's outdoors.
It's outside, so the smoking, that's why smoking doesn't apply, because
okay.
it's outside.
Okay. And then just the number of tables, I think I counted 27 in your plan, but I'm presuming that there's roughly about 4 people per table. Approximately, you've got a high table section there, which might have more, but it equates to about 108 people. Does that sound about right? So there's kind of three questions there, basically. How does the bookings work? Number of tables. Oh yeah, and the taxis. You said you were going to advertise kind of taxi numbers and stuff at the end of the event. I'd just like to know
no problem. So
how you're going to do that.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't think the question about smoking is irrelevant. Councillor Plouvier is correct. This is an outdoor site, so what we're going to have to do is find a space for smokers away from the other diners where they can smoke, but there's no concerns in the sense of anything being enclosed or anything like that. We will locate the smokers as far away from residential properties as possible. I'm going to defer to Yada and Paul as to the bookings policy, and I'll let them explain to you about that. The reality is, councillors, we will have taxi numbers available for people, but these days most people just use Uber or Captain or any of the other types of taxi provisions, or they use public transport. There's far fewer minicabs being used these days than there were previously. But Yada, Paul, do you want to just explain to the councillors how the booking system is going to work, and also, you know, how you're going to manage dispersal around people using taxis, so those taxis don't beep and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, councillors, and thank you, Luke, for representing us. We have a reservation system called Res Diary. It's a system used by restaurants across the country. We have a profile set in there, and based on the outcome of this hearing, we will activate that booking system. That booking system allows us to put terms and conditions and also our notes to any booking taken for the premises. So our dispersal policy will be mentioned as a part of the conditions for the booking. So we will remind customers to be thoughtful about the local residents, keep the noise down, make sure that they pre-book their cabs before leaving the premises. It's a quite comprehensive system that allows you to be constantly in touch with your customers, and on the check-in, the front of the house staff checks them in, depending on what's gonna even happen with the COVID passports, and we will encourage people to have proof of their negative rapid lateral test. I've set up similar operation for two different, very similar projects within the Hackney Borough, which are happening around London Fields area, also pop-up restaurants, and I set up the whole booking system for them and all the due diligence policies. So we basically just gonna almost copy paste everything from the other two projects I've been setting up operations for recently after the pandemic.
Brilliant. Can I just ask you what happens when somebody just rolls up, you know, on the day? They see this thing happening. They think, oh, you know, I fancy going in or whatever. How does that work?
So if we are not fully booked, the walk-ins will be welcome, but they still have to booking through the system. So our front of the house has a computer or tablet with them, and they take all the details from the customer, including their email, and basically they confirm the reservation on the door. Obviously, with the assistance of us as managers who will be always on site, and our security, we will assess every single walk-in customers if they are actually suitable for our operation or not. We definitely don't want to bring any burden on that street or any nuisance. So we're gonna be very, very careful about letting any random walk-ins in.
Okay, great. Is it okay to ask another question, Chair? Is that okay?
Yeah. Go.
I don't want to dominate. Just on the complaints management procedure that you've got, you said that a telephone complaints line will be available for people. Can you tell me where you're going to advertise that, and where, you know, clearly for people to be able to see, particularly residents?
So we will advertise it through all our social media. So we have a quite strong following on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We will put our numbers for any complaints on our website, and we will display it on the door as well. So on the gate, for any complaints, there will be complete transparency with our email and contact numbers.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that.
Sorry, I was just going to add there has actually been dialogue between Yada and Paul and some local residents nearby, and we'll maintain that dialogue. We'll give the number to them, the people that we've been talking to already, or anyone else that wants it, for that matter. If the council want the number, we can give the number to the council. It's no problem at all.
That's great. And just on the back to the tables, Yada, am I correct that there's room for 27 tables in there? Does that sound right?
Again, because of the delay with this hearing, because this hearing originally meant to happen on Tuesday, we have not set up the tables, because if you're gonna give us the green light, we go back on site and we're gonna start setting up everything. We have a post prepared where we will inform people that this weekend will be just a soft launch. So this weekend we're gonna run capacity under 100 people, and we're gonna run the operation only from 5 till 10. Unfortunately, because of all these delays and dealing with the objections, we just don't wanna rush it. So we just gonna do a little test event if we're gonna get the green light from you. And then based on that, we will actually see what will be the final table arrangement, final tables arrangement. But it's definitely not going to be more than 150 covers.
Right. And
it's going to be quite likely less than that.
And then, when are you going to deal with your bottles, the bottles, recycling and all that kind of thing? Because basically, you said you're not going to do it late at night or in the morning.
Yeah. So our waste removal partner is a company called First Mile. What they do, they provide bags, which are basically for different types of waste removal, from general rubbish, plastic, cardboard, and bottles. We keep all those bottles in those bags, so they don't even go into containers. It's all stored in plastic bags. And then we will agree collection times with First Mile outside of the hours that can possibly cause any disturbance.
Yeah. Just, Chair, if you don't mind, just as a kind of more or less sort of logistical issue about kind of food standards and stuff like that and food safety. I noticed you've got a washing up facility there in your plan. Where are you getting the water from?
There is a water on site.
There is. Okay. Yeah. Cool. And the toilets that you talk about there, is that the location of the toilets on your plan?
Yeah, these will be portable toilets.
Okay.
So they are getting cleaned every week.
Brilliant. Fire extinguishers you got on site, is there?
Yeah, of course. That's gonna be the next thing for me to prepare before opening fire risk assessment for both the general operation and for the food vendors.
Yeah.
Depending of what facilities they're gonna be bringing on site and emergency procedures in case of any emergency situation on site. The gate on that site is very wide, so the gate will serve as the exit and fire exit at the same time as well. We're just gonna have to allocate the assembly points.
Okay, and just one last question: will there be background music?
We are still discussing it internally, to be honest, because we don't necessarily need it, but we were thinking for the ambience, we may have some very tiny little speaker at the bar area, but it's not essential for the operation. So again, if there would be any complaint to the numbers or emails provided to us, it's not essential, and then we can just turn it off and never use it again. But there is a plan to have one small speaker and playing just some very, very chilled out music, nothing offensive.
Okay, well that's great. Thank you very much, Chair, for that. Sorry, I didn't mean to dominate.
No,
that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Smith. You've asked all the questions that I wanted to ask as well, so I think we're done. Okay. I'm not sure if there's anything else that needs.
Amanda wants to speak.
Amanda.
Yes, just Chair, I don't know whether it's worth clarifying to Mr. Elford why the matter wasn't heard on Tuesday and or not. No.
It's not a problem. We're here now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. In respect of the event that's going ahead this weekend, that's why I just wanted to clarify. I don't know whether it's necessary or not.
Okay. Does anybody? Well, I think we've reached. I don't think there's anything more to be said, really, is there? So we're in a position now where if people want to make closing remarks, Mr. Elford, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I think you've asked some extremely pertinent questions, councillors. I just commend this notice and the supporting documents to you, and invite you to allow this event to go ahead, because I think it's going to be a wonderful event, and it's going to support a great use of an otherwise derelict and empty space in Hackney.
Okay, and Gert Patty, is this? Do you want to sum up, or?
Yeah, just a very brief summary, I suppose. As the panel is most probably aware, and obviously as the residents are aware, hence their complaints that have already come through, there are plenty of restaurants, clubs, bars, pubs within that local vicinity. By allowing this temporary event notice to go ahead, do we really need this? Do we really need to add to the misery for the nearby residents? And just one final point is, considering how close this this pop-up restaurant is to nearby residents, I always like to try and put myself into the residents' position. Imagine a pop-up restaurant taking place right next door to one of my homes or inside my home. Just a setup, for example, having 100 people in there for 10 hours is going to cause some level of disturbance. Add that onto what takes place there on a Friday and Saturday night anyway. I think we can say there will be some form of significant disturbance, and that's why a counter notice hopefully should still be served. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think are we?
I think Mr. Elford wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry.
No, it was just about the suggestion that this is going to cause misery for residents.
No, sorry, I must correct you there. He said add to the misery.
Oh, sorry. All right. The suggestion
He didn't say it would cause misery. He said they were suffering misery already, which obviously we do see from their submission.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I completely take your point, Mr. Elford. I think that's fair enough.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we'll draw this to a close and we'll make our decision. So we'll ask those who aren't involved in the decision making to thank you very much, and we'll close the meeting.
May I just ask when the decision's going to be available? I know Gareth said 5 working days, but you know, 5 working days is effectively the event itself. I was hoping it might be available later today.
Amanda?
Yes, either later today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, that's
apologies, Luke. I think the protocol's geared to more
different.
sort of formal meetings rather than 10, so apologies for any confusion caused.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.